The text message flashed on my phone at 9:15 p.m. on a Friday evening. It was from Leo, my younger brother. "Don't bother coming to the barbecue this weekend. Chloe says you'll just ruin the whole vibe." I just stared at the glowing words. My chest seized up, a tight knot of pressure, like I'd taken a punch. And then I watched as the little reaction icons appeared beneath his message. A crying, laughing emoji from my mother, a thumbs-up emoji from my father. They were all in on it. They were enjoying this, right there in the family group chat, chuckling at the idea of cutting me out. To them, I was just Ava, the boring sister, the awkward one who worked in some lab and was clueless about how to have fun. I was the family ghost. I didn't cry. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't fire back a long, wounded paragraph detailing their casual cruelty. I typed 2 words. Understood. Then I placed my phone screen down on the polished surface of my rosewood desk. I glanced at the formidable stack of documents waiting for me. It was the final sign-off for a multi-billion-dollar launch of a new medical diagnostic system. I picked up my gold-nibbed fountain pen and signed my name on the signature line. Ava Sterling, Executive Vice President. My family thought I was a joke. They had no idea I was the one secretly bankrolling their entire lives. But they were about to find out. Before we get into the rest of the story, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment to let me know where in the world you're watching from. I remained in my executive chair for a long time after sending that text. The phone screen was black, but the words were seared into my brain. Ruin the whole vibe. It wasn't the first time they'd said something like that, not even close. It wasn't even the most hurtful thing they'd ever said, but it was the last. For my entire life, I'd been cast as the background extra in the Sterling family production. I was the quiet one, the serious one. My brother, Leo, was the star. He was gregarious, charismatic, a master of charm. He could enter a room and instantly become its gravitational center. I would enter a room, and people's eyes would just slide right past me, searching for someone more entertaining. Growing up, our dinner table was Leo's personal stage. He'd regale us with stories about his football exploits or some prank he pulled in class. My parents, Robert and Helen, would hang on his every syllable, laughing until tears streamed down their faces. If I dared to speak, the energy would shift. I'd talk about a science competition or a novel I was immersed in. My mother would let out a soft sigh, poke at her salad, and murmur, "That's lovely, Ava. Leo, could you pass the bread?" I learned to stay silent. I learned to stop expecting them to listen. When I left for college, I deliberately chose a university 4 hours away. I harbored a naive hope that the distance might make them miss me. It didn't. They skipped my graduation ceremony because Leo was having a major crisis with his flavor-of-the-month girlfriend. A week later, a card arrived with a $50 check inside. They'd misspelled my name, writing Eva. I tore the check into tiny pieces and threw it away. After college, I poured everything I had into my career. Science was logical, physics didn't have mood swings, biology didn't play favorites. If you did the work, you got a result. It was a meritocracy. My family was not. My career started on the ground floor at Ethelred Pharmaceuticals in a junior researcher role. The work was grueling. I was pulling 80-hour weeks, sacrificing holidays and birthdays. Not that I was invited to many of those anyway. On the rare occasions I did show up for Thanksgiving or Christmas, the dynamic was depressingly predictable. I'd be at the far end of the table, sipping water, while Leo boasted about his latest entrepreneurial fantasy. Leo was always launching something new. A bespoke hat company, a blockchain advisory service, a boutique gym franchise. They all imploded spectacularly, and every single time my father would be there to write the check. "He's a risk taker," Dad would say with misplaced pride. "That takes guts." Then he'd glance my way. And Ava. Well, Ava is dependable. She loves her little lab coat. They pictured me as a worker drone, spending my days sanitizing beakers for minimum wage. They never once asked what I actually did. They never asked about the patents I was co-inventing. They never asked about the promotions. 3 years ago, I became the youngest director in the company's history. 2 years ago, I was promoted to Vice President of Innovation. Last year, I was made Executive Vice President. I controlled a budget larger than the GDP of a small nation. I led a division of 300 of the brightest minds in science and engineering. When I spoke in boardrooms, titans of industry listened. When I made a call, the stock market reacted. But to the Sterling family, I was just Ava, the girl who couldn't land a husband, the girl who lived in a sterile apartment in the city and never came out to the suburbs for a good time. Chloe, Leo's wife, only made things worse. Leo married her 2 years ago. Chloe was undeniably beautiful, with flawless teeth, salon-perfect hair, and a smile that never quite reached her cold eyes. She treated me like a rescue project. "Oh, Ava," she'd say at family functions, her hand on my arm dripping with false pity. "Still in that same gray blazer? We simply must take you shopping. You look like a substitute teacher." My mother would chuckle. "Don't waste your time, Chloe. Ava likes looking plain. It keeps men at a distance." They would raise their glasses to toast Leo's boundless potential and Chloe's impeccable taste. And I would just sit there, my mind on the board presentation I had the next morning, where I'd be deciding the fate of an Alzheimer's drug that could change millions of lives. I never corrected them. Why? Because a small, foolish, childish part of me wanted them to ask. I wanted them to be curious. I wanted my father to say, "Ava, tell me about your work." I wanted my mother to say, "We're so proud of you." If I had to shove my success in their faces, it wouldn't feel real. So I stayed quiet. I let them believe I was a nobody. I let them think I was scraping by to pay rent. I let them assume my life was a small, sad, gray existence. It was a test, a long, painful test. They failed every single day. The text from Leo was the final straw. "Don't bother coming to the barbecue." It wasn't about a stupid barbecue, it was about erasure. They were actively editing me out of the family portrait because I didn't match their aesthetic. I wasn't bubbly enough. I wasn't shiny enough. I gazed around my sprawling office. It was late, well past 9 p.m. The lights of the Chicago skyline sparkled beyond my floor-to-ceiling windows. For years, I had been protecting them. I'd been propping them up from the shadows, waiting for a scrap of affection. I stood up and walked to the vast window, pressing my palm against the cool, smooth glass. "No more," I whispered into the silent room. The ache in my chest was transforming, hardening into something new. It was cold. It was heavy. It felt like steel. They didn't want me at their party? Fine. They didn't want Ava, the sister. But they had no idea they were about to meet Ava Sterling, the executive vice president. I returned to my desk and finished signing the stack of papers. The launch of the new diagnostic system, the Veritas, was set for Monday. It was going to revolutionize the medical field. My face was slated to be on the cover of Forbes next month. My family didn't read Forbes. They read celebrity gossip blogs and their Facebook feeds. I packed my briefcase and switched off the lights. As I walked toward the private elevator, a strange sense of peace settled over me. The waiting was over. The hope was gone. And I realized that without hope, there was no more room for fear. I was no longer afraid of their rejection. I had finally accepted it. Now I was simply looking at the balance sheet. Debts were owed, and I was coming to collect. Saturday morning at Ethelred Pharmaceuticals was typically a quiet affair, but for me, it was business as usual. The Veritas launch was just 48 hours away. A low hum of activity from essential personnel filled the building. I arrived at 7 a.m. sharp. I loved the building when it was nearly empty. It was my sanctuary, my fortress. I took the express elevator to the 50th floor. My assistant, Nina Vance, was already at her desk. Nina was 24, razor sharp and fiercely protective of me. She knew more about my actual life than my own mother ever would. "Good morning, miss." "Sterling," Nina said, handing me a steaming black coffee. "Legal sent the final press release drafts. The marketing team wants a final review with you at noon." "Thanks, Nina," I said. "Hold all my calls until 10. I need to get through this inbox." I walked into my office and closed the heavy oak door. The morning vanished in a whirlwind of focused productivity. This was my element. Here I wasn't the discarded daughter. I was the one in charge. I was respected. I was essential. At around 10:15 a.m., my intercom buzzed. "Miss Sterling." Nina's voice had an edge of confusion. I pressed the button. "Yes, Nina. There are 2 people in the lobby. Security just called up. They're claiming to be your family. They say it's an emergency." I froze, my pen hovering over a contract. "Did they give their names?" I asked, though a cold certainty was already creeping in. "Leo and Chloe Sterling," Nina replied. "They're asking for a meeting about an angel investment. They're demanding to see you, and they're being quite abrasive with the front desk staff." I leaned back in my leather chair. Angel investment. Leo was here to pitch me. He must have looked up my employer online. He probably pictured me as some mid-level drone who could get him a foot in the door with the real decision makers. He had absolutely no idea. "Send them up," I said. "Are you sure?" Nina asked, her concern evident. "I can have security escort them out." "No," I said, a cold resolve settling in. "Let them come. Have security escort them to the executive suite." I stood and straightened the lapels of my tailored blazer. I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling glass wall that overlooked my team's open-plan workspace. I usually kept the electronic privacy blinds partially closed. Today I opened them completely. I wanted a full audience. I sat back down behind my massive, imposing desk. I didn't pretend to work, I just waited. A few minutes later, the elevator chimed. I watched through the glass as the doors slid open. Chloe stepped out first, poured into a bright pink dress far too short for any corporate environment. She had oversized sunglasses perched on her head, and she scanned the floor with a dismissive air, as if she were assessing a trendy new brunch spot, not a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical firm. Leo trailed behind her, looking rumpled in a creased polo shirt and jeans. He looked small and out of his depth. They navigated past the rows of empty workstations, their confusion growing. The floor was a silent expanse of polished concrete and chrome. Nina rose from her desk as they approached my door. "Mr. and Mrs. Sterling," Nina said with practiced professionalism. "Yeah, that's us," Leo grunted, barely giving her a glance. "Where's Ava?" "She said she could get us in." "Miss Sterling is expecting you," Nina corrected him, gesturing toward my office door. Chloe scoffed. "Miss Sterling. God, she takes herself so seriously for a lab tech." They approached my door and Nina held it open for them. They stepped inside. I didn't get up. I didn't offer a smile. I remained perfectly still, my hands clasped on the polished expanse of my desk. The office was vast. The view behind me was a stunning panorama of the Chicago skyline and Lake Michigan. The furniture was all sleek leather and brushed steel. But the thing that stopped them in their tracks was the wall directly behind me. It was a frosted glass panel etched with silver lettering. Ava Sterling, Executive Vice President, Ethelred Pharmaceuticals. Chloe stopped so abruptly that Leo bumped into her. She stared at the sign. Then her eyes darted to me, then back to the sign. "Wait," Chloe said, her normally confident voice now thin and reedy. This is your office." Leo's jaw was slightly agape as he took in the room. He looked at the expensive abstract art on the walls. He looked at the breathtaking view. He looked at the perfectly tailored Italian suit I was wearing. "Ava," Leo said, his voice a bewildered whisper. "What is all this? Whose office are we in?" "Mine," I said. My voice was quiet, but it sliced through the air. "But," Leo stammered, "Mom said you were just a researcher, in one of the back labs." "Mom is wrong," I stated flatly, "about many things." I gestured to the two low-slung chairs positioned in front of my desk. They were designer pieces specifically chosen to make anyone sitting in them feel slightly intimidated. "Sit down," I said. It wasn't a request. It was a command. They sat, suddenly looking like children in the principal's office. Chloe nervously crossed and uncrossed her legs, tugging at the hem of her bright pink dress. She was a garish splash of color in the cool, monochromatic palette of my office. "What do you want?" I asked. I skipped the pleasantries. I didn't ask about their drive. I didn't ask about the barbecue. We were getting straight to business. Leo glanced at Chloe, clearly expecting her to take the lead. She was the strategist. He was the front man. Chloe cleared her throat, attempting to paste on her pageant winner smile, but it looked brittle. "Well," she began, "we had no idea you were this high up. This is great, Ava, really. Keeping it all a big secret, huh?" I didn't respond. I just held her gaze. She fidgeted in her chair. "Anyway, since you're obviously doing so well, this is actually perfect. It's even better than we hoped." "What is?" I asked. "The investment," Chloe said, reaching into a ridiculously large designer handbag and pulling out a crumpled, stained folder. "Leo and we have this new business venture. It's going to be absolutely massive." I looked at the folder but made no move to take it. "You drove all the way into the city on a Saturday to ask me for money," I stated. "The day after you informed me I wasn't welcome in your home." Leo flinched and looked down at his sneakers. Chloe's smile wavered, but she powered through, a bulldozer in lipstick. "Oh, stop," she said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "That was just family stuff. You know how it is. Don't be so dramatic. We're family." "Family," I repeated, the word tasting like poison. "Yes, family," Chloe said, her voice firming. "And family helps family, especially when one of them has clearly done very, very well for herself." Her greedy eyes scanned the office again. I could see her mentally calculating the value of the furniture, my salary. The dollar signs were practically spinning in her pupils. She thought she'd stumbled upon a hidden treasure chest. I looked at Leo. "Is that why you're here? To beg?" Leo's head snapped up. "We're not begging. It's an investment, a startup." "What kind of startup?" I asked. "Next-gen wellness diagnostics," Chloe said quickly. "You know, health stuff. Kind of like what you do here. We figured you could, get the company to invest, or maybe you could just invest personally." I almost laughed out loud, the sheer absurdity of it. They knew nothing about medicine, nothing about business. "How much?" I asked. Chloe's eyes lit up. She thought she had me on the hook. $3 million, she said, for the seed round. "We have the whole business plan. We just need the capital." I stared at them, letting the silence stretch out, thick and suffocating. Then I leaned forward slightly. Chloe beamed like a predator sensing a kill. She pushed the crumpled folder across the vast desk towards me. "It's a guaranteed win, Ava," she cooed. "Leo will run operations. I'll handle all the marketing. We just need the initial funding. And since you're sitting in this office, $3 million is probably just couch money for you, right?" She winked. She actually had the audacity to wink at me. I glanced at the pathetic folder. I didn't need to open it. I knew exactly what was inside, a jumble of vague buzzwords, images stolen from other companies' websites, and wildly optimistic profit projections based on pure fantasy. It was a joke. Leo was leaning forward too, his face a mask of desperate eagerness. "This is a real shot for us, Ava. Dad thinks it's a fantastic idea. He said if anyone could help us get started, it would be someone at your company." "Dad has never met a bad business idea he didn't love," I said coolly, as long as he wasn't the one paying for it. Leo's eager expression collapsed. "Come on, don't be like that." "Be like what?" I asked. "A realist?" I placed my hand on the folder and slowly slid it back across the desk toward them. I didn't open it. "No," I said. The word was a clean, sharp cut in the quiet room. "Final." Chloe's smile froze on her face. "What?" "No," I said again. "I will not be investing, and Ethelred Pharmaceuticals most certainly will not be investing. You didn't even look at it." Chloe's voice shot up an octave. "You didn't even open the folder." "I don't have to," I said. "I know you, Chloe, and I know Leo. You lack the experience, the education, and the fundamental discipline to run a hamster farm, let alone a medical technology company. It would be the equivalent of setting a pile of cash on fire." "Excuse me?" Chloe snapped, the mask of civility shattering. The real Chloe, the bully, was emerging. "You think you're so much better than us just because you have a fancy office and a big chair? You're just a nerd, Ava. You've always been a weird, lonely nerd. I am an executive," I corrected her calmly. "And as an executive, I identify and reject bad investments for a living. This is a catastrophically bad investment." Leo looked genuinely hurt. "Ava, we need this. We're in debt. The mortgage. Things are really tight." "I'm aware," I said. "Perhaps you should have considered that before Leo bought a speedboat he never uses, or before Chloe leased a Range Rover she can't possibly afford." Chloe slammed her hand flat on my desk. "How dare you? You don't know a thing about our lives." "I know you told me I'd ruin the vibe at a family barbecue," I said, my voice dangerously low. "I know you laugh at me with my own parents. I know you see me as worthless right up until the moment you need my money." I stood up. In my heels, I towered over them. "This meeting is over," I said. "Leave." Chloe shot to her feet, her face blotchy and red. "We're not going anywhere until you write us a check. We are family. You owe us." "I owe you nothing," I said. "You selfish bitch," Chloe shrieked, the sound echoing in the pristine office. Outside the glass wall, heads turned. My entire team was now watching the drama unfold. Nina was already on her feet, her hand reaching for her phone. "You sit up here on your pile of money while your own brother is struggling," Chloe screamed, jabbing a manicured finger at me. "You're disgusting. It's no wonder no one loves you. It's no wonder you're all alone." Leo finally stood and grabbed Chloe's arm. "Chloe, stop it. Let's just go." "No!" She wrenched her arm free. "She needs to hear this. She thinks she's so special, but she's nothing. She's just a walking ATM. That's all she is to anyone." I pressed the intercom button on my desk. "Security," I said, my voice calm and clear. "My office. Now." "You're calling security on your own brother?" Leo asked, his face a mask of horror. "I'm calling security on two trespassers who are creating a disturbance in a corporate environment," I replied. Within seconds, two large, uniformed guards appeared at the glass doors. They entered without knocking. "Ms. Sterling," one of them asked, "please escort these people from the building," I instructed. "They are not to be permitted back on the premises. Revoke their visitor credentials permanently." "Yes, ma'am," the guard said, stepping toward Chloe. "Ma'am, if you'll come with me." Chloe stared at the guard, then back at me, her eyes blazing with pure fury. She snatched her purse and the rejected folder from the desk. "You are going to regret this, Ava," she spat. "I'm going to make sure Mom and Dad know exactly how you treated us. You will never be welcome at another family event again." "I wasn't planning on it," I said. The guard took her by the elbow. She tried to pull away but began moving toward the door. "This is why nobody wants you around," she screamed as they guided her into the hallway. "You're cold. You're a monster." Her voice reverberated across the entire floor. My staff watched in stunned silence. Leo looked at me one last time before following her out. The anger was gone, replaced by a look of sheer panic. "Ava," he whispered, "we really, really needed that money." "Then you should have earned it," I replied. He turned and walked out, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The guards closed the door behind them, and the silence rushed back in. I sat down. My heart was pounding, but my hands were rock steady. I looked at the spot on my desk where Chloe had slammed her hand. There was a faint, greasy smudge. I took a tissue from the box and carefully wiped it clean. I took a deep, steadying breath. It was done. I had finally drawn a line in the sand, but I had severely underestimated their desperation. I thought the screaming was the climax. I was wrong. It was merely the opening act. 10 minutes passed. I tried to refocus on my work, but the adrenaline was still coursing through me. I sipped my now cold coffee, trying to steady my nerves. Then my personal phone buzzed on the desk. I glanced at the screen. A security alert from my bank. Bank of America. A credit inquiry has been detected. Type: personal loan application. Amount $520,000. Status: pre-approved. I frowned. I hadn't applied for a loan. I didn't need a loan. I quickly unlocked my phone and opened the banking app. And there it was, a pending application submitted just 3 minutes ago. Applicant name: Ava Sterling. Co-signer: none. I clicked into the details. The residential address listed wasn't my high-rise apartment in the city. It was my parents' house in the suburbs. The contact number was an old landline number from my childhood. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. It felt like I was in free fall. They had my social security number. Of course they did. My mother kept all our important documents in a dusty file box in the attic. Birth certificates, old tax returns from my first teenage job. They were attempting to take out a loan for over $500,000 in my name. This wasn't just desperate. This was a felony. I checked the time. 10:44 a.m. They must have done it from the car. Chloe probably had the application pre-filled on her phone, ready to hit submit the second I said no. This was their plan B. If I wouldn't give them the money, they would simply steal it. A blinding, white-hot rage washed over me. This was no longer family drama. This was identity theft. I didn't hesitate. I didn't call my parents to scream at them. I didn't text Leo to demand an explanation. I tapped the contact for David Chen. He was my private banker, a man I trusted implicitly. He answered on the second ring. Ava. Everything all right? It's Saturday. David, I said, my voice pure ice. Kill it. Kill what? There's a loan application for $520,000 in my system. It's fraudulent. I did not authorize it. David's tone snapped to attention. On it. Give me 10 seconds. I heard the furious clicking of his keyboard. Okay, I see it, David said. Submitted online. Used your old profile data. Ava. This looks like it cleared the initial security questions. Because they know the answers, I said through clenched teeth. Mother's maiden name, name of first pet, high school mascot. It's my family, David. There was a brief pause. David knew the broad strokes of my family situation. He knew why I kept my finances Fort Knox level secure from them. I'm sorry, Ava, he said softly. Don't be sorry, I said. Just terminate it. It's done, David confirmed. I flagged it as fraudulent. The application is denied, and I'm placing a full freeze on your credit reports across all 3 bureaus. From now on, no one can open a credit card in your name without a DNA sample. Good, I said. And David, I need the IP address and the exact timestamp of the application. I want the digital footprint. Are you going to the authorities? He asked. I'm building a case, I replied. Just send it to me. Sent, he said. Take care, Ava. I hung up. By 10:46 a.m., the email from David was in my inbox. It showed the application was submitted from a mobile device. The location data pinged from the parking garage of my office building. They hadn't even pulled out of the driveway before attempting to rob me. I sat there, staring at the concrete proof. I felt physically sick. I had paid off Leo's last car loan. I had secretly bought the very house he lived in. I had tried for so long to be the good sister, and their response was to commit a federal crime against me. By 10:50 a.m., my phone began to buzz insistently. Incoming call, Leo, I ignored it. Incoming call, Leo, I ignored it. Incoming call, Leo, he was panicking. He must have just received the notification that the loan was denied and flagged as fraudulent. He knew that I knew. On the 5th call, I answered. She's hysterical, Ava. Leo screamed into the phone before I could speak. He wasn't apologizing. He was attacking. You humiliated her. First you throw us out, and now this. The bank just sent a fraud alert. Do you have any idea what that does to us? I took a sip of my cold coffee. I know exactly what it does. I said calmly. "It prevents you from stealing over $500,000 from me." "We weren't stealing," Leo cried. "We were going to pay it back. Once the business took off, we just needed the capital." "You electronically forged my signature," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "You used my social security number without my consent. That is identity theft, Leo. That is wire fraud. Depending on the prosecutor, that's 5 to 20 years in a federal prison." The line went dead silent. All I could hear was his ragged breathing and Chloe sobbing dramatically in the background. You wouldn't send your own brother to prison," he whispered. "You tried to destroy my financial life," I countered. "You didn't care if I lost my security clearance. You didn't care if I was saddled with crippling debt. You only cared about what you wanted. We're family," he yelled again, clinging to the one word he thought was a magic shield. "Not anymore," I said. "Tell Chloe to stop crying. She's going to need to conserve her energy." "For what?" Leo asked, his voice trembling. "For the eviction," I said. "What?" There was a beat of stunned silence. "Is there anything else?" I asked. "Ava, wait." I ended the call. I placed the phone back on the desk. My hands were trembling now, not from fear, but from the sheer, unadulterated rush of adrenaline. I had finally pulled the trigger. I had fought back, and I was just getting started. I opened my laptop. I had one more email to send. I needed to know everything about Chloe. I needed to know exactly who I was up against. I typed a short, direct message to Frank Miller, the head of private security for Ethelred. He was a former FBI special agent. He could find a single grain of sand on a beach and tell you its entire history. Subject: urgent background investigation. Name: Chloe Sterling, formerly Jenkins. Scope: full financial and criminal history. I hit send. The war had begun, and I intended to win. That evening, the silence of my apartment felt heavy, oppressive. I had spent the afternoon staring out at the city, my mind a whirlwind of legal strategies and simmering rage. I'd ordered food but hadn't touched it. I just sat waiting for the other shoe to drop. At 7 p.m., my doorman buzzed. "Miss Sterling, there's a package for you. Dropped off by a courier, no return address." "Send it up," I said. A few minutes later, I was holding a thick manila envelope. It was heavy, solid. It had no stamps, just my name scrawled in black marker. I carried it to the kitchen island, slit the top open with a knife, and emptied the contents onto the cool marble. Two things fell out. The first was a thick, spiral-bound dossier with a clear cover. It looked professional, exactly the kind of report Frank Miller's team would produce. The second was a smaller, plain white envelope addressed by hand. I recognized the handwriting instantly. The deliberate loop of the A, the sharp angle of the S, it was my father's. My stomach clenched. Why was my father sending me a secret package? Hate mail? A preemptive lawsuit? A formal letter of disownment? I opened the white envelope first. Inside was a single sheet of yellow legal paper. "Ava, I know what happened at your office. Leo called us in hysterics. Your mother is furious. She wanted to call the police on you for harassment. I told her to wait. Frank Miller called me. He said you ordered a background check on Chloe. As a courtesy to me, he wanted me to know before he sent the report to you. I told him to send it to me first. I've read it, Ava. I've read all of it. I don't have the stomach for what needs to be done. I'm an old man and I just want peace. But you were always the strong one, even when we treated you like you weren't. If you can handle this, please do, Dad." I stared at the note, my hands beginning to shake. "You coward," I whispered to the empty apartment. He knew. He had seen the proof of what Chloe was. And instead of protecting his own son, instead of apologizing to me, he had passed the responsibility to me. He was weaponizing me. He wanted the weird sister to clean up the family's mess so he could keep his hands clean. "You were always the strong one." That line should have been a compliment. It felt like a slap in the face. He acknowledged my strength, yet he had spent my entire life watching my mother and brother treat me like I was fragile and insignificant. He had stood by while they mocked me. He'd even joined in. And now that the wolf was in the hen house, he was hiding behind me. I set the note down. A cold, hard resolve solidified in my chest. Fine. If he wanted me to be the executioner, I would be. I picked up the dossier. Subject, Chloe Sterling, nee Jenkins. Prepared by Miller Security Solutions. I opened it. The first page was an executive summary. It was devastating. Chloe wasn't just a bad influence. She was a professional predator. Previous marriage, Miles Hunter, 2018 to 2021. Outcome: divorce filed by Mr. Hunter, citing irreconcilable differences. Financial impact, Mr. Hunter declared. Chapter 7. Bankruptcy, 3 months, post-divorce. I flipped the page. The details were sickening. Chloe had opened a dozen credit cards in her ex-husband's name. She had taken out fraudulent business loans for a luxury concierge service that never had a single client. She had forged his signature on a home equity line of credit. By the time Miles discovered the fraud, he was over $600,000 in debt. He'd lost his business, his house, everything. Chloe had cried in court, claiming innocent spouse status. She played the victim, saying Miles was controlling and forced her to sign documents she didn't understand. And the court had let her walk away, leaving him in the financial wreckage. The next section was on Leo. The report showed Chloe was running the exact same playbook on my brother. In their 2 years of marriage, Leo's credit score had plummeted over 200 points. There were 3 maxed-out credit cards in his name that he almost certainly didn't know existed. There was a lien on his truck. And then the kill shot. She had convinced Leo to cash out his 401k early, incurring a massive tax penalty. The amount? Just over $400,000. And where did the money go? Wire transfer to Lux Holdings, LLC, sole proprietor, Chloe Jenkins. She was systematically siphoning his entire future into a shell company. She was bleeding him dry just as she had with Miles. I turned the pages. Photos of her extravagant shopping sprees, copies of bank statements. It was methodical. It was pure evil. My brother was a fool, yes, he was cruel to me, yes, but he was being devoured by a parasite. And my father knew. He had read this very report. He knew his son was being financially destroyed, and he did nothing because he was afraid of my mother's reaction. He was afraid of shattering the illusion of their perfect family. I closed the folder. I walked to the window. The city was a glittering grid of lights. I thought about the text message. Ruin the whole vibe. They didn't want me there because I was too serious, too real. Well, reality was coming for all of them. I went back to my desk. I needed to make a phone call. I found the contact information in the report from Miles Hunter. He was living in a small apartment in a town just a few miles from Leo and Chloe. He was working the night shift at a distribution center. A man who once owned a thriving landscaping business was now starting from scratch. I picked up my phone and dialed. It rang 4 times before a tired, rough voice answered. "Hello? Is this Miles Hunter?" I asked. "Yeah, who's asking?" "My name is Ava Sterling," I said. "I'm Leo Sterling's sister." There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. "If you're calling to gloat about her," Miles said, his voice hardening, "you can hang up now. I don't want to hear her name." "I'm not calling to gloat," I said. "I'm calling because I'm holding a file that details exactly how she ruined your life, and how she is currently doing the same thing to my brother." I heard him let out a long, shaky breath. "I tried to warn him," Miles whispered. "I sent him a message on Facebook before they got married. He blocked me, said I was just a jealous ex." "He didn't know," I said. "She's a very good liar." "She's the devil," Miles said simply. "I'm going to stop her," I said, "but I need your help. I need you to tell your story, not to a judge or a lawyer, to my family." "Why the hell should I help you?" Miles asked. "You're a Sterling. You're probably just like the rest of them." "I'm the one she tried to steal $500,000 from this morning," I said, "and I'm the only one with the resources to bury her." There was another pause. "What do you need?" he finally asked. "Meet me tomorrow," I said. "I have a plan." First, I emailed Miles the location, a quiet coffee shop halfway between my downtown apartment and the suburbs. We'd meet at 7 p.m. Then I opened my laptop. It was time to play the ace I'd been holding for 3 years. I logged into the secure portal for a holding company named AS Holdings, LLC. AS for Ava Sterling. No one in my family knew it existed. 3 years ago, Leo and Chloe were looking for a house. Their credit was already shot even back then. No bank would touch them. My parents couldn't afford to co-sign. Leo had a meltdown at the dinner table, crying about how he was a failure who couldn't provide a home for his new bride. I couldn't stand to see it. Despite everything, he was my little brother. So I bought the house. I used an LLC to keep my name off the public records. I found a nice 4-bedroom house in a good neighborhood for $475,000. I paid cash. Then I had a property management company rent it to Leo. I instructed the manager to offer them a special rate, explaining that the owner was a philanthropist who enjoyed helping young couples get started. They paid $1,500 a month. The market rate for that house was closer to $3,500. I was subsidizing their entire life. I paid the property taxes. I paid the insurance. I paid for the new furnace last winter. They thought they were the luckiest people in the world. They never knew they were living in my house. I clicked on the property details. Owner, AS Holdings LLC. Tenant, Leo Sterling and Chloe Sterling. Lease. Status, month to month. They were on a month-to-month lease because they were chronically late with their subsidized rent. I had always told the management company to be lenient, to never start eviction proceedings. That leniency was now over. I drafted a new document, Notice of Termination of Tenancy, to Leo Sterling and Chloe Sterling, property, 142 Maple Drive, Naperville, Illinois. You are hereby notified that your month-to-month tenancy is terminated. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. I stared at the words, evicting my own brother. It felt harsh. It felt cruel. Then I remembered the fraudulent loan application. I remembered Chloe screaming that nobody loved me. I remembered my father's cowardly note. I wasn't evicting them out of spite. I was evicting them because the house was my asset, and they were criminals living in my property, using my address to commit fraud against me. I printed the notice and signed it. Manager, AS Holdings, LLC. Next, I went to my banking portal and found the automatic payment I had set up for the house's utilities. I'd been paying the water and power bills too. Another little perk. Status, active. I clicked cancel. Confirm cancellation? Yes. A strange feeling washed over me. I felt lighter. For years, I had been carrying them, dragging their dead weight up a mountain while they kicked me in the shins. I was finally letting go of the rope. The rest of the day passed in a haze. I tidied my apartment. I organized the dossier. I made 3 copies of everything. One for me, one for the police if it came to that, and one for the barbecue. At 6 p.m., I got in my car and drove out of the city. The traffic was light. Most families were already at their holiday weekend destinations, grilling, laughing, enjoying the start of summer. I was going to war. I pulled into the coffee shop parking lot at 6:55 p.m. Miles was already there, leaning against a battered old sedan. He looked older than his years, his face etched with stress. He wore a faded work shirt. I parked my gleaming luxury SUV next to his car and stepped out. He looked at me, then at my clothes, then at my car. He squinted. "You don't look anything like your brother," he said. "I'm not," I replied, extending my hand. "I'm Ava." He shook it. His grip was rough and calloused. "You got the file?" he asked. "In the car," I said. "Did you bring what I asked for?" He nodded and opened his trunk. Inside was a large plastic bin filled with documents. Court records, he said, pointing. Bank statements. The threatening texts she sent me when I finally tried to leave her. It's all in there. "Good," I said. "So what's the plan?" Miles asked. "We just crash the party tomorrow?" "No," I said. "We go to their house first, tonight. I want them to see you before the main event. I want them to be terrified." Miles actually smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was a grim, satisfied smirk. "I haven't seen her in 3 years," he said. "She probably thinks I'm dead or in prison. She told people I went crazy. She tells people a lot of things," I said. "Tonight, we set the record straight." "Why are you really doing this?" Miles asked again, his eyes searching my face. I looked at the setting sun glinting off the hood of my car. "Because they tried to steal from me," I said, "and because my father asked me to handle it. Your dad is in on this?" "My dad is a spectator," I said. "I'm the one playing the game." "All right," Miles said, slamming his trunk shut. "Let's do this." "Follow me," I said. "I own the house they're living in. Let's go pay the tenants a visit." Miles's eyebrows shot up. "You own it?" "They don't know that," I said, "but they will in about 20 minutes. I got back in my car. My heart was beating slow and steady. The setup was complete, the trap was laid. Now I just had to spring it. The drive to Naperville took 15 minutes. The sun had set, casting long, deep shadows across the quiet suburban lawns. It was a picturesque neighborhood. Manicured gardens, American flags on porches, kids' bikes left in driveways. It was the exact life my parents had always envisioned for their golden boy. I pulled up to the curb in front of 142 Maple Drive. The house looked pristine. The rose bushes were in full bloom. A new seasonal wreath hung on the front door. Leo's truck was in the driveway next to Chloe's leased Range Rover. I cut the engine. Miles pulled up behind me. We got out. The street was silent except for a distant dog barking. "Ready?" I asked Miles. He took a deep breath, clutching a thick folder of his own documents. "Yeah," he said. "Been waiting a long time for this." We walked up the stone pathway together. I didn't knock. I pressed the doorbell and held it down. I heard hurried footsteps inside, then Chloe's voice. "I'll get it. It's probably the food delivery." The door swung open. Chloe stood there in sweatpants and a tank top, a glass of wine in her hand. She was smiling, expecting a pizza guy. When she saw me, her smile evaporated. "Ava," she snapped, her face a mask of annoyance. "What are you doing here? Leo told you we're not—" Then her eyes shifted to the man standing beside me. Her face went slack. The color drained from it, leaving a pasty, grayish white. The wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the porch, red wine spattering across the concrete and her socks. "Miles," she whispered. His name. The one she used when she was pretending to love him. Miles stepped forward into the light of the porch. "Hello, Chloe," he said. His voice was level, but I could hear the years of rage humming just beneath the surface. What is he doing here?" she stammered, looking wildly from him to me. "You brought my ex-husband to my house? Are you insane?" "Who's at the door?" Leo called from the living room. He appeared in the hallway wearing a t-shirt that said CEO in training. He saw the broken glass, he saw me, and then he saw Miles. Leo froze, a look of utter confusion on his face. He recognized Miles, but his brain couldn't compute his presence. "Miles?" Leo said. "What the hell's going on? May we come in?" I asked politely. "No!" Chloe shrieked. "Get out! Get off my property!" "It's not your property," I said calmly. I stepped over the shards of glass and into the foyer. Miles followed me. Chloe stumbled backward. We walked into the living room. A game show was blaring on the TV. "Sit down," I said. "You can't just barge in here," Leo blustered, trying to puff out his chest and play the protector. "Ava, get out now before I call the cops." "Please do," I said. "I'd love to show them the wire fraud report I have in my briefcase. It'll save them a trip." Leo froze. The word fraud hit him like a physical blow. He looked at Chloe. She was trembling. "Sit down," I repeated. They sank onto the beige sofa, the very same sofa I had picked out and paid for when I furnished the place for its anonymous tenants. Miles stood by the television, a silent, imposing figure. I stood in the middle of the room. "Miles," Chloe whimpered, "please, just leave. Whatever she told you, it's all lies." Miles tossed his folder onto the coffee table. It landed with a heavy thud. That's my bankruptcy filing, Chloe, Miles said. That's the credit card statements with your fraudulent charges. It's the emails where you admitted to forging my signature on the HELOC. Leo stared at the folder, then reached for it. Don't you touch that, Leo, Chloe screamed, lunging for his hand. Let him read it, I said. Leo pulled his hand back from her. He looked at his wife with dawning horror. What is this? He asked. It's your future, Miles said grimly. It's the exact same scam she's running on you right now. Leo opened the folder and began to read. His eyes grew wide. The Lux Holdings account, Leo whispered, his voice cracking. That's the company you said you were investing in. With my 401k money. It's a shell company, Miles said. It's her personal bank account. She drains you, moves the money there, and when you're broke, she leaves you. She gets the cash, you get the debt. Leo looked at Chloe. Is this true? No. Chloe was sobbing now. Big, theatrical tears. They're lying. They're trying to ruin us because they're jealous. Ava is jealous of our love. I checked your credit today, Leo, I interjected coolly, right before I shut down the fraudulent loan you applied for. Your FICO score is 540. You have 3 tax liens against you. You are drowning, and she is the anchor tied to your feet. Leo dropped the folder. He buried his face in his hands. Oh my God, he moaned. My retirement fund, it's gone. Every last penny, Miles confirmed. The room fell silent save for Chloe's performative sobs and the cheerful theme music of the game show. Why are you doing this? Chloe shrieked at me, her face a mess of smeared mascara. You ruin everything. You're a miserable, lonely witch. I'm the landlord, I said. I pulled the second document from my briefcase, the eviction notice. I placed it on the coffee table, directly on top of Miles's bankruptcy file. What? Leo asked, looking up. The house, I said. I bought it 3 years ago. Through my holding company. I've been subsidizing your rent. I've been paying for this entire lifestyle. Chloe stopped crying instantly. Her mouth fell open. You, she whispered. You own this house. Every brick, I confirmed. And you have 30 days to get out. You can't do this, Chloe yelled. We have tenant rights. We're family. You are tenants, I corrected her, and you are in breach of lease for non-payment and for attempting to defraud the property owner. I looked at Leo. He looked utterly broken, like a child who'd just learned the truth about Santa Claus. Ava, he whispered, you bought us the house. I tried to help you, I said. I tried to give you a foundation, and in return, you spit on me. You let your wife mock me. You tried to rob me. I didn't know, he cried, tears now streaming down his face. I didn't know it was you. You never asked, I said. You never asked me a single thing about my life. 30 days. If you are not out by the end of June, the sheriff will remove you. Where will we go? Leo wailed. We have no money. That, I said, is a question for your wife. She seems to be an expert at making money disappear. Maybe she knows how to find some. I signaled to Miles. We're done here. We walked out, leaving them in the ruins. Chloe was screaming behind us. You can't do this. I'll sue you. I'll tell Mom. Leo didn't say another word. He just sat there, surrounded by the wreckage of his life. We stepped out into the cool evening air. Miles looked at me, and I saw a weight lift from his shoulders. Thank you, he said. Thank you, I replied. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow? He asked, confused. The barbecue. We have one more presentation to make. For the board of directors. Miles grinned. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Memorial Day. Monday, 2 p.m. The sky was a brilliant, cloudless blue. The air was thick with the smell of charcoal and sunscreen. My parents' backyard was buzzing with activity. Cars lined the street. They'd invited everyone, neighbors, distant cousins, friends from their church. It was the Sterling family's social event of the season. I parked my car down the block, not wanting to get blocked in. I walked up the driveway carrying a slim black leather portfolio. I was wearing a sharp dark navy suit. Everyone else was in shorts and flip-flops. I looked like a mortician arriving at a pool party. The cheerful music faltered and died as I stepped into the backyard. My mother, holding a tray of deviled eggs, froze mid-step. My father, stationed at the grill, looked up, his face ashen. The chatter of the guests faded into an uneasy silence. They all sensed the shift in atmosphere. "Ava," my mother said, her voice strained, we didn't think you were coming." Leo said a lot of things," I announced, my voice carrying clearly across the yard. I walked past the drink cooler, past the kiddie pool, and straight to the main patio table where Leo and Chloe were sitting. They looked like ghosts. They hadn't slept. Leo's eyes were red and raw. Chloe was hiding behind enormous sunglasses. "What are you doing here?" Chloe hissed. "Haven't you done enough?" "I'm here to finish what I started," I said. I turned to my parents. "Mom, Dad, you told me not to come because I ruined the vibe." "You laughed about it." My mother's face flushed crimson. "Oh, Ava, it was just a silly joke. Don't be so dramatic. It wasn't a joke," I said. "It was the truth. I don't belong here. And today I'm going to show you all why." I opened my portfolio. I took out the fraud report, the eviction notice, the background check. I laid them out on the table right next to the potato salad. "Dad," I said, looking him dead in the eye, "you sent me this note on Saturday. You told me you knew Chloe was a professional con artist. You told me to handle it." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. My mother dropped the tray of deviled eggs. They splattered on the patio stones. "Robert," my mother said, turning to my father, "what is she talking about?" My father stared down at the grill, unable to meet her gaze, unable to meet mine. I had suspicions," he mumbled. "Suspicions?" I said loudly. "You had a 50-page dossier. You had proof. You knew she was robbing your son blind, and you were too much of a coward to do anything about it." I pointed at the papers. "Chloe has stolen Leo's entire 401k, I announced to the stunned party guests. "She has destroyed his credit, and she attempted to commit bank fraud in my name." "Liar!" Chloe shrieked, jumping to her feet. "She's lying. She's crazy." "Am I?" I looked toward the side gate. On cue, Miles walked in. The crowd parted for him. He was clean-shaven, dressed in a crisp button-down shirt. Chloe made a sound like a small, wounded animal. "Miles?" my mother whispered. "Is that her ex-husband?" "Mrs. Sterling," Miles said politely. "Sorry to interrupt." He walked over to the table. "Tell them, Miles," I said. "She did the exact same thing to me," Miles said, his voice clear and steady. "She invented a fake business, stole my life savings, and left me completely bankrupt. She is doing it to your son right now." Leo stood up, his legs trembling. "It's true," he said softly. "Leo?" Chloe grabbed his arm. "Don't listen to them." "It's true, Mom," Leo said, finally looking at our mother. "The money, it's all gone, and Ava owns our house." "What?" My mother's head snapped toward me. "You own their house?" "I bought it to help them," I said, "and 2 days ago, I evicted them." "Evicted?" my mother shrieked. "Ava, that's your brother. How could you?" "Because he and his wife tried to steal $500,000 from me on Saturday morning," I said. The silence in the backyard was absolute. The only sound was the sizzling of forgotten burgers burning on the grill. "Is that true?" my father asked, finally looking up. Leo nodded, fresh tears streaming down his face. Chloe said, "She said Ava wouldn't even notice. She said we deserved the money." My father looked at Chloe. For the first time I had ever seen, he looked at her with pure, unadulterated disgust. "You tried to rob my daughter?" he asked. "She has plenty," Chloe screamed. "She's rich. She never shares. She's a greedy, selfish bitch." "Get out," my father said, his voice low and shaking. "What?" Chloe blinked. "Get out of my yard," my father repeated, pointing his spatula at the gate. "Both of you, get out." "Dad," Leo whimpered, You too, Leo, my father said, his voice breaking. You let this happen. You tried to steal from your sister, the same sister who secretly put a roof over your head. But we have nowhere to go, Leo cried. Figure it out, my father said. I looked at Chloe. The police have a copy of the file, by the way, I added. Frank Miller sent it over this morning. You might want to spend less time crying and more time calling a lawyer. Chloe stared at me with an expression of pure, concentrated hatred. But she knew she had lost. She grabbed her purse and marched toward the gate. The crowd of neighbors and friends parted like the Red Sea, their faces a mixture of shock and judgment. Leo stood there for a moment, looking from our mother to our father. No one moved to hug him. No one offered a word of comfort. He hung his head and followed his wife out into the street. When the gate clicked shut, the silence lingered. I looked at my parents. I hope the party's better now, I said. I closed my portfolio. Ava, my mother said, stepping toward me. Wait, we didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said. I turned to Miles. Ready to go? I'm buying lunch. Steak, Miles said. I want a very expensive steak. Done, I said. I walked out of the backyard. I didn't look back. I left them all there with their burned burgers, their spilled eggs, and the ugly truth they had spent years trying to ignore. 3 months later, August. The oppressive summer heat was finally starting to break. The air held the first crisp promise of autumn. I was sitting in my office at Ethelred. The launch of the Veritas system had been a monumental success. Our stock was up 40%. The board had just approved a bonus package for me that was, frankly, obscene. Nina walked in. Miss Sterling, a personal letter for you. She handed me a plain white envelope. I knew the handwriting. It was my father's. I hadn't spoken to them since the barbecue. I had blocked their numbers and set up an email filter. I opened the letter. Ava, I hope this finds you well. I see your company in the business news. We are proud. I wanted to give you an update. The foreclosure on Leo's house is complete. I know you sold it. I hope you made a good profit. Chloe is facing 3 civil lawsuits. The bank, the credit card companies, and Miles Hunter are all suing her. The district attorney is looking into the identity theft charges you filed. It does not look good for her. Leo filed for divorce last month. He is a broken man, Ava. He lost his job. He is living on our couch. He cries all the time. We had to sell the boat to help pay his initial legal fees. Your mother went back to work part-time at the public library to help make ends meet. It's so quiet here now. Too quiet. Do you ever feel guilty? I know we weren't a perfect family, but we were a family. Now it's all shattered. Was it worth it? Love, Dad. I read the letter twice. Do you ever feel guilty? He still didn't get it. He still thought I was the one who had shattered the family. He couldn't see that the family was already broken beyond repair. I had just been the one to turn on the lights so everyone could see the cracks. He wanted me to feel remorse. He wanted me to fix it. He wanted me to open my checkbook again. I took out a sheet of my heavy, personalized stationery. I picked up my fountain pen. Dad, I don't feel guilty. Sometimes protecting a body means cutting out the cancer before it metastasizes and kills the host. I saved you from Chloe. I saved Leo from a lifetime of debt and ruin, even if the treatment was painful. I didn't shatter the family. I just stopped holding the broken pieces together. I hope Leo finds his way, but he will have to do it on his own, just like I did. Please don't write again. Ava. I sealed the envelope. Nina, I called out. Yes, Miss Sterling. Mail this for me, please, and then order us some lunch. Thai, extra spicy. I swiveled my chair to face the window. The city stretched out before me, endless and bright. I thought about Leo sleeping on the couch in the very living room where I had once been invisible. I thought about my mother shelving books in the quiet library. I thought about my father grilling burgers for one in a silent backyard. They were all living with the consequences of their choices, and I was living with mine. I took a deep breath. The air in my office was cool and clean. It was quiet, but it was not the silence of being ignored. It was the silence of earned peace. I smiled to myself, picked up my pen, and got back to work. End of story.